Our last pod, how many people sent you a message saying how he did it again to you guys?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got a couple of those. Yeah, it hasn't happened in a while.
Hasn't happened in a while. It happened on Tuesday. We recorded the podcast, and they made a move to sign Bradley Roby to the practice squad. So this is our first chance today to talk about that. We'll talk about some other stuff, getting ready for this Rams game, the injury to Fletcher Cox, Jalen Hurts running the football, a bunch to get to. This is the Eagle Eye podcast presented by Nissan. He's Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. How we doing, Rube?
Doing well. Interesting game. Looking forward to it Sunday. I think there's a London game, so 9:30 a.m. will be, what, a 6:30 kickoff for you?
Mm-hmm.
Go down to get breakfast and watch some football.
That's not bad. I might do that.
I remember doing that in Arizona once, having breakfast at the hotel, and it was like a London game.
That's fun.
Like sitting there at 6:30. It was great. Can't beat it. But then there's no night game.
Yeah, well, I mean, it won't matter. I'll be traveling anyway.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah. I don't miss those red eyes, I'm telling you.
You know what's funny? I always book the red eye, and when I book it, I'm like, this is great. I'll get home in time to start my day on Monday, and it sounds like a great idea until you're on that red eye.
I always thought the worst part of it was not the actual flight, but just like being at the airport at 11 and, trying to get a bottle of water, find something that's
in the
open.
beginning, it's fine because you get there and you're like, I have some work to do. I'll get some dinner. And then by like 9:30, 10 o'clock, you're going, all right, I'd like this flight to go ahead and get here. And
but it's always good to be home.
It is. All right. A lot to talk about today. Like I mentioned, we'll get into the Eagles-Rams matchup in a little bit. But Bradley Roby, the Eagles signed him to the practice squad. So not on the active roster just yet. What do you make of the move? And how long do you think it'll be before we see him in action?
Well, you know what I like about the move is, look, he's a former first round pick, but he's also 31. He was cut at the end of camp, so he's been out of football for a month and a half now. But they made the move early enough that if Howie still wants to make a trade, like they'll know by the trade deadline at the end of the month what they have, I would think.
Trade deadline's Halloween.
31st. And so they'll have an idea what they have by then. And this way they didn't have to give anything up. And if Howie's got to trade something at the end of the month, he can do it. But at least this is a no-lose situation. He's got a first-round pick who maybe can play in the slot. And, I mean, he does play the slot. Maybe he can help answer that question of who's going to be the slot, because it's just been, I think everyone's kind of clear that James Bradberry is, and he's doing his best today. He's doing okay, but it's not a long-term solution.
Yeah, and this is what we talked about on the last podcast, maximizing James Bradberry. You just paid this guy $38 million over 3 years. He was a second-team All-Pro last year. You need to have him outside. That's how you maximize your talent. You have him out of position. You give him credit for being willing to do it and doing it fine. And I still think, like, week to week, there will be matchups where it makes sense, but you need that one-for-one solution for Avonte Maddox. If it's not Mario Goodrich, then you need to find the guy. We'll see if Bradley Roby's the guy. Yeah,
and look, let's be honest. I mean, these kind of acquisitions are really hit or miss. When a guy's not in the league, there's a reason for it. But then again, Zach Cunningham wasn't in the league, and he's playing really well. So certainly, and we always say take Pro Football Focus for what it's worth. It's part of the answer. It's not the whole answer, but I mean, he had one of the lowest grades of any corner in the league last. I think he was in the mid-40s with the Saints. So it's certainly not a slam dunk, but I like the move because they didn't have to give anything up, and maybe he'll help.
Yeah,
I would think it's going to take a couple weeks.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, it depends on what kind of shape he's in. He was in a camp, so that's better than him not being in a camp. He at least went through that. 4 weeks of sitting isn't like awful. I mean, guys go on IR and they're rehabbing and they get back. So
but they're around the team, they're in the building. But I mean, he's a veteran. I would think. I mean, maybe Jets. I would think definitely by Miami.
Yeah, you would think so. There's no reason to not catch him up pretty quickly. I asked him about that, and he was like, there's only so many coverages you can run, which is true. It's like, we have a veteran, he's seen it. It's just about the verbiage and And then it'll be about getting him ready in practice to play with the guys.
Is it verbiage or verbiage? It's verbiage.
I don't want to do this again.
All right.
I don't feel as strongly as I did about the other one.
Verbiage. Yeah, it's verbiage.
I'm in a hurry. I'm trying to get through this.
Speech or writing that uses too many words or excessively technical expressions. That's not really the correct definition. Anyway.
Yeah.
But it's verbiage.
But like you also have to learn how to play with the guys around you, which, for a veteran, I think it won't take as long.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's the answer. I really don't. I'll tell you what, though, every time the Eagles need a defensive back, I should just look at the Saints rosters from the last few years.
Yeah.
They're getting him from the Saints. It's very strange.
Yeah, a lot of them. They've got a lot of players from the Saints.
Defensive backs.
And Boston Scott, right? Saints?
Yeah, but I mean, a ton of defensive backs.
Yeah, a ton of defensive backs.
I mean, Justin Evans, CJ Gardner-Johnson, now Roby, Malcolm, Patrick Robinson.
Wow.
It's a ton.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think I don't know if any team's ever had three 30-year-old cornerbacks playing at the same time.
Not exactly the recipe you want.
Yeah, it's not ideal, but Bradbury's got to be back outside. He has to be. And this is the next attempt at a solution. We'll see. There's really no way of knowing how it's going to go until we see him play.
Yeah, I like the attempt.
Yeah.
I think it's a good attempt. He doesn't like his jersey number, 33. That was the only one available.
Most recently worn by Josiah Scott.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he doesn't like it.
33 is not. I kind of like 33 on Josiah Scott. I know you're not into jersey number analytics, but
Numerology.
Yeah, but I don't mind 33 for a pure nickel.
To me, it's more of a safety number.
Didn't Dexter McDougal wear 33? Am I making that up?
Dexter McDougal.
Not that that's the reason you
wore
should
33. Yes. Yeah. Josiah Scott, Blake Countess, Josh Adams.
Blake Countess, that was his second or third go around though.
Yeah. Did he get on the field in another number though? I don't think so.
No.
Ron Brooks. We liked Ron Brooks.
Ron Brooks, pure slot.
Jordan Poyer.
Okay.
Safety. Jack Iguanu.
Now we're going back in the
Who's your favorite Clinton Hart, man? I love that guy. Who's your favorite 33? Mine might predate you.
I don't know the
Elijah Holyfield. I don't remember Chris Prozinski. Terrence Carroll.
Yeah, it's not a
very few offensive players, just Josh Adams, Jerome Harrison had a 100-yard game against the Cowboys. Eric Bieniemy wore 33 for the Eagles.
Okay, how about that? That's not bad.
Eric Bieniemy, who was just here.
Has not been a very good number for the Eagles.
Who's the best 33 they've ever had? I mean, Jordan Poyer's probably had the best career, but it wasn't here. But my favorite 33 is William Frizzell, lefty. Even back in the day, Billy Barnes, he was pretty good running back in the 60s. He's on the championship team at 60. Ollie Matson, he wasn't here long. Randy Jackson of the Jackson 5.
All right.
Poe James wore 33.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah. Can we talk about 32?
No more jerseys. Yeah, we'll see. I'm curious to see what he's got left. That's always a question when you bring in a veteran. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The Eagles got lucky last year when they brought in Linval and Ndamukong Suh. Like those guys gave them really good snaps down the stretch.
But again, it's a lot easier for an interior lineman at that age than a safety or corner.
Corners lose their legs.
They got 3 30-year-old corners potentially.
Yeah. He was saying though, is like, I feel pretty fresh after sitting for the first 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, that makes sense actually.
Well, he looked good in individual. Yes, I was watching him.
Watch him backpedal a little bit.
Yeah, a little backpedal. He's got some first round hair.
Big hair.
Yeah.
It was really funny because I've seen photos of him. I've seen him play, but you're always nervous about like meeting a new player because you want to make sure you get the right guy. He walked in, you're like, oh, okay, that's him.
Yeah. There's no doubt.
And so what do you make of this? They gave him a real locker.
That was interesting.
So a lot of the practice squad guys have the pop-up lockers in the middle of the locker room
Right.
The fact that he has a real locker kind of tells you their plan for him.
Yeah, I think that's the way it struck me. I mean, Rashaan Evans came in. He had a little practice squad locker in the middle because there's permanent lockers on the walls, and then there's these auxiliary lockers for the practice squad guys in the middle of the locker room. So, yeah, that was interesting. That was the first sign that, look, instead of putting him in the middle in a practice squad locker and then moving him when we promote him. So, but Britton Covey hasn't had a practice squad locker.
But he's not. I mean, he plays every week.
Yeah. But, I mean, there are exceptions is what I'm saying. It's not just practice squad. But, yeah, he's going to play. It's just a matter of whether it's against the Jets or the Dolphins, which AFC East team he plays against first. And then, they'll see if
you're him, you're like, maybe let me get out there against the Jets before the Dolphins come to town.
It might not be a bad idea. But, it's crazy how many, just so many of these, ideally you don't want guys 8 guys on defense on 1-year contracts because it's tough to build up any continuity, but it's the best solution right now.
Yeah, you have to do it. All right, let's go from
I'm looking forward to seeing them.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting to see how it fits together. I don't, like I said, I don't know how much he has left, but they had to do something.
I got a pretty good picture of him at practice yesterday.
Okay.
So I'm gonna see if I can fire that up here. A little action shot of there's a little too much glare there, but
yeah,
that's what he looks like.
This is where I remind you that if you send me that photo before the pod, I can.
And you're on the phone.
Put it up on. That's true. All right. You want to move on?
Yeah.
Fletcher Cox. We found out from Ian Rappaport of NFL Network, Fletcher had an epidural in his back this week, so he might miss the Rams game. A little concerning. Fletcher has been playing really well. They would miss him for this game, and it makes you wonder, is this going to be something that lingers beyond this?
Yeah, backs are tough, and he's been playing well, and he's been playing a lot of snaps. The most snaps in interior lineman. So
70% so far.
It's crazy. It's a concern, and Marlon Tuipulotu is also on the injury report.
A triceps injury. So all of a sudden, this position with all this depth is taking a hit this week. Yeah.
So we might see a lot of Kentavious Street. Because they're going to still rotate. You're going to have fewer guys to rotate, but you still have the two kids from Georgia. You have Milton, you have Kentavious Street, and see what happens. But Fletcher's a big loss because now everybody's got to play more.
Yeah, Chance Ojimo is up.
That's interesting. Yeah, he'd be the next guy up, and that big old 59. Man, that's
Thomas Booker on the practice squad.
Huge.
They're not going to have a practice squad elevation, I don't think, for a defensive tackle.
Yeah, but he's big.
He's a big dude, and you're right. Him wearing 59
it's weird.
Is like, who the heck is that linebacker?
That's what I thought yesterday. Yeah, because his locker's right across from Sua's, and we were sitting there waiting for Sua for a while. But that's and
it's funny. I asked Sean Desai about Fletcher's workload because he's playing so well.
It's a fine line.
It is because you want to get the most out of him, but you want to get the most out of him in December and January too. So. 70% is probably too much.
Yeah, I would agree.
Especially when you've had these high snap count games, which, we look at the percentages because that's the fairest way to look at it. But the actual snap counts matter more for the player.
Right.
And you're talking about keeping them healthy.
Yeah. The good news is it sounds like it won't be a super long-term thing, but with backs and an older player, it's a concern. And
I've brought it up before, just how durable he is. It's weird when he's not out there.
Yeah. He has missed very, very few games. He'll miss a play, and you think he's going to be out for a month, and he's out there 2 plays later. Yeah.
We'll see how it goes this week. I wouldn't completely rule him out right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I wouldn't think he'd practice all week.
He doesn't need to. Yeah. Just get him. We'll see. They have to.
Another factor is, if you have a bad back and you're sitting on a 5.5-hour flight,
not great.
Yeah, that's iffy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes it a little trickier.
And that also could apply to Covey, who's still in the protocol. Even if he's clears protocol, you don't want guys coming off a concussion on a flight. That's another concern. It's just I don't know, what is it, the concussions and flights is a bad combination. That's all I know. But
I thought you were going to go barometric pressure on me.
No, it has. I can't remember. Somebody explained it to me once, but so Fletch is a concern, and they could use him
if he can't play in this game.
And Fletch wants to play since Aaron Donald's on the other side. I mean, he's kind of played in his shadow
his whole career, just about.
Like he's never been the best interior lineman in the league.
Even in 2018, Fletcher's best year
ever
by far, all pro. Aaron Donald had 20 sacks that year.
Yeah. And they're different kinds of players.
Well,
I mean,
not really. A lot of similarities.
I think Fletcher's been better against the run throughout his career.
Okay. I think Aaron Donald's been pretty good at everything.
Yeah. I mean, he's the best. There's only been, I looked this up, there's only been 5 defensive linemen inside outside who've been 7-time first team All-Pro. It's guys like Reggie White, Bruce Smith, Aaron Donald. That's the company.
He's one of the best defensive players ever. You can make a case that he is.
He's one of the top 5 as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think easy, like no question about it. Which leads us to our next topic. Sua Opeta. He's going to get a start at right guard in this game. Welcome, Sua. Here's Aaron Donald.
Yeah, and I talked to Sua about Aaron Donald yesterday, and he said, I'm really confident. Like, he's a great player, but I just feel like, I'm really confident in my ability, and I want to prove it against Aaron Donald. He's like, if you're going to, I think he just really embraces the challenge, which is good. I think if you don't, you've lost before you started. And Sua is a guy who has been here for 5 years. He's been on and off the roster, the practice squad. But he's been around Jeff Stoutland for 5 years. He's known Kelsey and Lane and played next to them, practiced with them for 5 years. He's got a real comfort level here, and they're comfortable with him. He's just a really strong guy. I mean, that's his calling card. At the combine, he was undrafted, but he was certainly his lifting numbers and strength numbers are off the charts. So he's had 5 years to kind of catch his technique up, I guess, to his strength. And Jeff Stoutland he just specializes in these kind of guys, these late round picks and undrafted guys. But this is no, he's going to have to play for multiple weeks now. We don't know. I guess we'll learn the next couple of days if they're going to IR Cam.
Saw him in a walking boot.
Still in the boot. I kind of think he's going to go on IR. What do you think?
It's a tricky thing because if there's a chance it's 2 weeks, you obviously don't do it. 3 weeks, you might still not do it.
You might still not do it if it's 3 weeks, but you don't know. You don't know it's going to be 3. Like if somebody said, look, he'll miss 3 games. He'll be back for who do they play after Miami?
I don't know. I take it one game at a time here.
That's the problem.
Commanders are in between.
Who is it?
The Commanders.
They play Commanders again down there.
Yeah.
Another 1:00 game.
Before Halloween.
The only 1:00 road game this year, which is crazy. But my gut feeling, seeing him in a boot yesterday, I think it might be 4 games.
And the thing is, not that this is the reason to do it, because you got to base it on his health and when you can get your starter back, but they could use that roster spot because they've been playing this game with the punter, which is all good and well when you're healthy. Now it's a little tricky because you only get 2 elevations from the practice squad. You got to burn one on the punter. And yes, you need a punter. Even if you don't like Braden Mann, you need a punter in the game. So that's one of them. You have been elevating Covey, so you might not need that this week if he's hurt, but you got to elevate someone.
Unless you go OZ.
You can go Olamide Zaccheaus. This week, it might come down to Olamide, or it might come down to Greg Ward versus Julian Good-Jones for the other elevation. So you can either elevate a punt returner or you can elevate a backup center.
Right. And Julian Good-Jones is a backup center. He had a good camp. But if you can save that spot and elevate Greg Ward and have Dickerson be your backup center.
And by the way, Dickerson did take some center reps at practice on Wednesday during offensive line drills. So it looks like he would be the backup on the 53-man roster.
Yeah.
But then you're in a so if this scenario happens and Kelsey has to leave, you'd have Dickerson at center. Would you then flip Sua
to left guard, and Driscoll at right guard,
or Steen? I would presume that Steen would be active.
If Steen's active, I think it might be Driscoll.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I mean, Steen's never played.
Does that?
And do you want? I mean, you're talking about three guys in the middle of your O line who've never played that position.
Well, Sua's played left guard.
Sua's played left guard 2 years ago, 4 games, 3 years ago. And then, I mean, you have Aaron Donald over there. Yeah, it's tricky.
They had to come up with those contingencies, though.
Yeah.
Like and Stoutland does that. That's something he learned from Nick Saban, who used to like grill him, like pop quiz him on, all right, you're sending your right guarder out. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And you just have to be ready to know every single thing that can happen.
Yeah.
I wonder how far they take that. All 5 of your starting offensive linemen are gone. Like, Boston's the right tackle.
Yeah. It's
like, how far do you think they take that?
Rick Lovato is going to be playing center. Yeah. So we're not quite at that point, but
I don't think Rick Lovato would handle the nose tackle on him very well.
Yeah. There's a lot of juggling to do this weekend with the roster, but that's something they're good at. They're going to have to be. They
are good at it. We've seen Stout show his ability here to get guys ready, to have those contingency plans.
My gut feeling is that, and I'm like the world's biggest Greg Ward fan, but I'd rather have OZ returning punts and save that roster spot.
Fair, catch it. Just go back there and catch it.
Yeah.
I get that. We'll see. That's some intrigue on Saturday when the elevations come out.
Yeah, no doubt.
But you also, it's tricky to go into a game with 4 wide receivers. They did it last week.
Yeah.
But did they? No, they had 5 last week because they had Covey up.
Yeah.
It's tricky to go in with 4 because you lose one guy, then your playbook is limited.
Yeah.
In that case, maybe you have Albert O active as a receiver. DeAndre Swift can play in the slot.
Swift can play in the slot. Yeah.
Yeah. We've seen him do individual drills. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if he's ready to play slot receiver. I think he probably
through a game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like contingencies. They're fun to go through.
Yeah. Yeah. But as a coach, it's like, this is the last thing you want to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Are we good here? Should I,
we didn't do any of this last year. It was,
all right,
Barnett's not here. Who cares?
Well, we knew they were gonna. They did it a little bit, obviously, with Avante going down and then CJ.
Yeah,
like they did it in the secondary last year.
A little bit, yeah.
Which sometimes someone will show themselves, like Reed did last year.
Yeah,
we don't know about Reed Blankenship if CJ doesn't get hurt.
It's true. I mean, he'd had a good camp,
but we don't know.
But we didn't know he was going to be. Yeah,
yeah.
He's really good.
He's solid.
Yeah.
But it's funny how some of those things work out. Like CJ doesn't lacerate his kidney or spleen. Kidney.
It was his kidney.
Yeah.
Lacerated kidney.
Sounds
he was back
awful.
in 5 weeks.
Yeah.
That was huge. It's kind of like if Caleb Sturgis doesn't get hurt opening day in 17.
Yeah. Sounds like, I don't know. Maybe there'll be a story about that.
It's a good idea.
Later this week. Maybe I'll get on that. All right.
Go ahead.
Or you want me to plug that? Is that what you're going to do?
No. I was going to say, like, you could go through like the 10 biggest what ifs in Eagles history. Like, so might be a good story for like, June next year.
Yeah, we'll
put it on the list.
We'll revisit that. Yeah. All right, let's take a break. We'll get back with some stuff about Jalen running the football and also Eagles-Rams matchups.
You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we've got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store and NissanUSA.com today.
Catch all the sports action and more at Rivers Casino Philadelphia. Whether it's the money line or the pass line, there's something for everyone in a great sports book. Rivers Casino, Philadelphia. Philly loves a winner. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. We're through 4 games. Jalen Hurts, ups and downs in the past game. Really, a lot of downs in the rushing game. He has not been as effective as a runner. Certainly effective on those QB sneaks. That's still there. But everywhere else, he doesn't look like the same guy. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, well, at one point I thought maybe, look, he's a guy that's taken a lot of hits. He's in his 4th year. Maybe he just slowed down, maybe physically. But then he takes off on that 24-yarder, and he looks like the Jalen of old when they really needed it. It was a huge play. And Nick was asked about it on Monday, and I thought really kind of I mean, Nick's always been like, whatever Jalen needs to do to move the ball. I mean, that's always been his mantra. But
we didn't pay him more to do less.
He needs to protect himself. He referenced the big hit he took against the Patriots. He said it's always been our intention to make sure he's protecting himself as a runner. We encourage him to slide. We encourage him to get down. We encourage him not to take a big hit. We encourage him to step out of bounds. So it's clear that it's on their mind more than it has been in the past, that he's missed games late in the last 2 seasons. Yeah. And he was never
back-to-back Decembers.
Back-to-back Decembers. He never got healthy in 21. I think his shoulder was just getting healthy. Certainly when the playoffs started, he wasn't 100%. I think by the Super Bowl he was, or close to it.
If he wasn't. Whew.
Yeah. But I think they understand that. Look, if Jalen's not 100%, your chances of winning a championship are not as good as they are if he is 100%. And I think they finally kind of, as a franchise, are like, this has got to be paramount to keep him healthy. And I think that message, if it's communicated to us, it's been communicated to Jalen, even though he denied it yesterday when I asked him about it, because he was in prime contrary mode, where whatever you ask him, he's going to disagree with, which is fine. That's his shtick. But from what Nick said, and then I followed up with Brian Johnson Tuesday. Yeah. Or someone did. It wasn't me. I don't know. Anyway, it's clear that it's something that they've communicated to Jalen. And I think you're seeing that. And I think he's in the early stages of kind of trying to be smarter, maybe not smarter, but just less aggressive, fighting for extra yards if he doesn't really need to. And he's such a competitor. It's hard to tell a guy, look, just go down when you get past the sticks. But you see him doing it more than he's ever done it before. And I think when you're still trying to get used to that, you can look tentative. And I think that's what we've seen. Yeah. I also think teams are defending him better as a runner. You can see that. There's not those giant, swatches of green in front of him very often. When there are, he showed Sunday he can still go for 24 yards. It's one of the longer runs of his career. So I think it makes sense. I think it's smart. I think it's just kind of a work in progress right now.
Yeah, I agree. There have been so many runs where it looks like he's about to take off for a nice size gain, and then he slides for, a 1-yard gain or even a loss.
Sure.
At times. And I think it's like a mindset thing. And it's tough to have the aggressive mindset, but also play it safe and try not to get injured, right? Like I think it's tough to straddle that line. And I think that's what we've seen so far.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought that 24-yarder really was encouraging to me, because it showed that when he really needs to, when he really has the opportunity, he can still be a really effective runner. And, look, the keepers, the third and ones and fourth and ones, it's a totally separate play. I mean, that's a power thing, and O-line, and, that's a whole different thing. But the actual running part of it, and I think it'll always be part of his game. And I think as he continues to evolve as a passer, he's not going to need to run as much. And I think the touchdown to OZ is a perfect example of that. And we might have talked about it that night. He could have probably gotten 12 yards running, and he was in a pocket quite a while. And I think last year, definitely 2 years ago, he's taken off and getting the first down. And it looks like it's a great play. He runs for a first down, but you'd rather throw it 34 yards for a touchdown than run 12 yards for a first down, even though that helps your rushing stats. So I think as he continues to evolve as a passer, you're just going to see less running. And I think that's a positive.
Yeah, I think there's just a learning curve to all this. And now you're adding the layer of clearly team instruction to protect yourself. I think that's going to take some getting used to for him.
Yeah, and it's almost like he's thinking, like, should I go down here? Should I run? And I think when you're
thinking too much, and it's like, if I take off, and I think it's like a valid thought. If I take off, am I going to be able to get a big gain, or am I going to have to slide after 2 yards?
Yeah. So that's natural and it's understandable, and I think it'll get better as we go along.
And I think if you're looking long term, I think it's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Not that it looks wonky now, but that there is an emphasis on it.
Yeah.
You need him healthy.
Yeah. And Nick has never spoken like that before. I mean, he'll say, I don't know if he's ever said anything like he needs to protect himself. I mean, it's the first quote on his answer. He needs to protect himself, not he's a great playmaker. He can make plays with his leg. It was like, he needs to protect himself. Number one.
Yeah.
So that, if he's telling us that, he's telling Jalen that.
Absolutely. All right. Want to move on to some matchups?
Yeah. Let's look at them.
Kind of a weird game. Flying to the West Coast. The Rams are 2-2. The Eagles are 4-0. Eagles are 4.5-point favorites as we record this on Thursday morning. Want to just get into the matchups?
Yeah, let's start.
The first one I think that has to be on your mind is this Eagles secondary against the Rams passing attack. Now, Matt Stafford, a little banged up, a hip injury. Cooper Kupp potentially coming back from a hamstring injury. He's missed the first 4 games of the year, but Puka Nacua has been fantastic. No one expected this. He's been insane. And now if you add Cooper Kupp to that, you have Matt Stafford, who's just been an underrated quarterback his entire career. This is a good passing attack. Sean McVay knows what he's doing, and you have a secondary that's dealt with injuries, and they've been burned a little bit.
Puka Nacua, the 177th player taken in this year's draft out of BYU.
Mm-hmm.
Here's his 4 games at Seattle. His first NFL game, 10 catches for 119 yards. Second game against the Niners and that defense, 15 catches, 147 yards. At Cincinnati, 5 for 72. And then this past weekend in that overtime win in Indy, 9 for 163. I mean, and a touchdown.
He has 501 yards.
He has 500 yards in his first 4 NFL games. It's the most ever.
Since Anquan, the previous record was Anquan Bolden 20 years ago.
Yeah, loved Anquan Bolden.
Fun player.
This is a secondary that's had its ups and downs, has had a lot of moving pieces. And they're going to get Cooper Kupp back, who's got the record for most catches in a season. Stafford's numbers aren't great. I think he's got 3 touchdowns and 5 picks, but
yeah,
he'll throw for a ton of yards. I mean, look, if you're giving up 300 to the guy in New England and the guy in Washington, Stafford is a concern.
They don't get names anymore.
Names are overrated. It's that's the one matchup that really scares me.
Yeah, and I think it should. There's no reason for you not to be scared by it. Now, the Eagles should be a little healthier in their secondary this week. Justin Evans and Sidney Brown both back at practice. Feel very confident Justin Evans will be ready for this game. Sidney, we'll see. It's still early in the week, but he seems to be trending the right way.
Yeah. But again, that's a guy who's played 16 career snaps on defense.
But he'll help.
He'll help. There's no question about it. But there's going to be mismatches out there. And Justin Evans has been, I don't think he's been bad as some people think. He's been okay. It's been a little uneven, but certainly helped to have him back.
Yeah.
I mean, he's to Terrell Edmonds.
I think, Edmonds has been rough.
Yeah.
I think he can be a minimal snap guy. You need him to kind of play a linebacker role here and there. He can do it.
Yeah.
Him being out there full time isn't great.
Not ideal.
Not ideal. Tyler Higbee kind of gets forgotten in the Rams offense, the tight end. He's not Travis Kelce. He's not Dallas Goedert, but he's a pretty good player. And as well as we've seen Nicholas Morrow and Zach Cunningham play, if they have a weakness, it's in coverage. And I think this is an area where the Rams can exploit that a little bit.
And Higbee's a career 11 yards a catch guy. I mean, he's a guy who can get down the field. That's certainly, and I mean, he's been there forever. I mean, I think he came close to a couple 1,000-yard season. He got like 800, 900 yards maybe.
Not quite, but he's a pretty good player. He's off to the best start of his career so far, averaging 49 yards a game, which like isn't great.
More than Goddard.
Yeah. His career high was 734 in 2019. So he's never been like a huge threat, but he's playing really well. He has 16 catches for 196 yards so far, averaging 12.3.
Yeah, that's a big number. So there's a lot of weapons there.
Yeah. Now the way you neutralize
they run the ball, but that's another.
They do run the ball.
Yeah.
The way you neutralize all of it is pass rush. Eagles pass rush has been very good. I thought they were very good last week. I know they didn't finish a ton at the quarterback, but I thought they affected the game pretty well.
Yeah. At times they didn't. I thought there were times where Sam Howell was in the pocket longer than I thought he could be. I still feel like they're going to have one of those 9-sack games here one of these weeks. I don't know if it'll be this week, but they're going to need to. I mean, they're going to need to get some pressure on Stafford.
Yeah, the Rams line has been okay. They had to shuffle it last week with an injury to their left tackle. Joe Noteboom had to move from right guard to left tackle, so they had some moving pieces last week. We'll see what they look like this week, but they're not completely healthy on that line. Josh Sweat against whoever the left tackle is I think that's a big opportunity for the Eagles. He's been very good.
He has been.
He's been their best edge rusher.
Yeah, by far, I would say. He's been pretty consistent. But they're going to need someone else. And it was good to see Reddick get one and get close to a couple others. They're going to need to really pressure Stafford. He's weird. He was sacked 6 times by the Bengals, but he's only been sacked, I think, once in their 3 other games or twice. Only once in their last 2 games. So
I've always liked Matt Stafford.
Yeah, me too.
He's been a fun player to watch for a long time.
He was on some bad teams.
I got a chance to talk to Slay a little bit about him yesterday.
One of only 12 quarterbacks to throw for 50,000 yards.
Mm-hmm.
What did Slay say about him?
He said what I say about him a lot. Is like he was throwing the no look way before Patrick Mahomes. Like he's been doing the weird arm angles, the no looks. Like he kind of was one of the first guys doing that. It was just he was doing it in Detroit.
Nobody noticed.
Yeah,
because we couldn't even find the right entrance to the stadium.
But I asked him just how happy he was to see Stafford get some spotlight when they won the Super Bowl, and he seemed really happy about it because he kind of felt the same way in Detroit that he got overlooked for a lot of years.
Yeah, I'm sure DeAndre Swift felt the same. I think everybody who's good who plays in Detroit does.
Although, hey, this year they're going to win that division.
Yeah,
run away with that division, maybe.
Yeah, so that is a tough matchup. And then
want to flip to the other side?
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about it already, but Aaron Donald's pretty good. He's still really good. 32, already has 2.5 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, 22 pressures, most among defensive tackles. He has one more than Jalen Carter, which tells you how good Jalen Carter's been.
Yeah.
But man, Aaron Donald's been a monster for so long.
Yeah. First ballot Hall of Famer. And it's look, I think Sue is a solid backup, but that's tough duty.
It's tough duty for anyone, and now you got a backup in there. They're going to have to slide. They're going to have to help as much as they can on Donald. Weirdly enough, the Eagles are one of 2 teams Donald does not have a sack against.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
In 4 games.
I'm sure he knows that too.
He probably does.
Well aware of that. So
the other team's the Jets.
Interesting. It's gonna be a matchup to really keep an eye on. And I mean, it's gonna help Sua that he's got a Hall of Famer on his left and maybe not a Hall of Famer, but
it's always so funny when you say it like that, because I agree with you, but overall I think Lane is a better player than Kelsey. It's just so funny. Like he's the best right tackle I've ever seen.
Yeah. Who's the best center you've ever seen?
Probably Kelsey, but the positional value is different.
Ringo. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But Kelsey's, I think. Well, I mean, look, we've gotten it to Lane. I think the suspensions really hurt him. It took him a long time to get his reputation back. Honestly,
he's been quietly very good this year.
Yeah,
a little shaky in in that first game.
Yeah.
Keon White gave him fits. Ever since then, he has been a brick wall.
Yeah, he's been really good. Haven't seen him.
He has sneakily not talked to us all year.
he gets into these stretches where you just don't see him in the locker room.
That's fine. He's built up enough equity to let him do whatever he wants.
And then
kind of like Jason Peters for a lot of his career.
There'll be a day where Lane will be at his locker. He's like, I'm not talking, and then he'll talk for 25 minutes. Yeah. No, I'm not talking at all this year. Just 2 questions. What do you
miss talking to him though? I always like talking to Lane. I learn a lot from Lane. He's a fun guy to talk to.
He is,
especially when you get into like the nitty gritty of the he studies. I don't know if people realize how much he studies the opposing edge rushers he's going to face.
Yeah,
he knows everything about them.
He does.
Like sometimes I'll just go back there and like, who you got this week? And I'm like, yeah, I got this guy. He does this, and this, and it's not anything I'm really like going to write about, but it's just fun to hear his process.
Yeah.
Miss that guy. All right. I think this could be a Dallas Goedert game. The Rams linebackers are a little susceptible. Now, obviously, we'll get to the Eagles receivers. That's always going to be a matchup they like. But trying to get Dallas Goedert involved a little bit here. I think some of it has to be schematic. I think they have to find ways to just get him the football early in games. I think they can do that against the Rams.
Rams are giving up big numbers against tight ends this year. Was it over 200 yards?
Over 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. One of like top or bottom 10 in the league in terms of defense against tight ends. Last week, the Colts had success against them. 107 yards, 2 touchdowns to the trio of Colts tight ends.
Kylan Granson.
Mm-hmm.
And your favorite, Mo Alley-Cox.
I am a big Mo Alley-Cox fan.
I know that. I think all our listeners do.
What a weird player to be a big fan of.
Hey, I'm a big Raheem Mostert fan. So, yeah. So anyway, Goddard, they need a third guy to be a factor. As good as AJ and Devontae are, they need it. It helps everything. It helps Jalen. It helps the receivers, the outside guys. It helps the running game to have a third guy or a fourth guy is allowed as well. But we've seen, the one game, OZ made some plays, touchdown, 24-yard catch.
Let me ask you about that because now, presumably Quez will be back this week.
Yeah,
he returned to practice last week.
Was full yesterday.
Yeah, what do you think the snap share is like? I think OZ did some really nice things in his absence. I don't know if it's a landslide Quez third receiver anymore.
No, it's a great question, and I mean we'll see we'll see Sunday, but I just feel. I think Quez probably is more likely to get you a 58-yard touchdown, but I think he's also more likely to have a rep that you just didn't like. So I think OZ's steady, he's consistent. I think he's earned that number 3 spot.
Just outright.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Maybe he's done enough to earn. In my mind, I think he's done enough to earn some more snaps. I think it should be. There should be packages for each of those guys.
No, I agree with that.
Okay.
I agree with that. I mean, Quez has a unique trait, and they have a quarterback who can get him the ball deep.
Mm-hmm.
He can track a deep ball. Who are their best? I love deep balls. I just love. I mean, like we were talking about how good Riley Cooper was tracking a deep ball, and Quez is the same way. He's just once the ball's in his hands, sometimes, or it has trouble getting into his hands, but he's in the right place.
Sure.
So. Yeah.
Oh, Amade's pretty good at the deep ball too, though.
He is.
Yeah.
He is.
More than you think. Like you think about him being this like smaller, shifty slot receiver. He plays pretty well outside, and he's caught a lot of deep balls in his career.
Yeah. It's crazy that Deshaun Jackson had 27 catches of 60 yards or more. It's insane. Like the most in history.
What did Deshaun's announcement end up being? Remember we thought he was going to retire like a couple months ago.
Yeah, I don't think he ever. I wrote a whole story about it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think it was
he tweeted me yesterday.
Did he?
I had some stat about most 50-yard catches or something. I don't know because AJ Brown already has the 4th most 50-yard touchdowns in Eagles history.
Yeah, he's pretty good,
or something like that. But anyway, I missed Deshaun's announcement. But anyway, Goddard. Yeah, back to.
Yeah, I think Goddard has a chance, but then we can get into the receivers. I think it's an every week thing with the Eagles because top two receivers are so good, they're going to feel like they have an advantage. But this is a distinct advantage, especially Ahkello Witherspoon, who I was a real big fan of going out of the draft. Gosh, a few years ago at this point. What year was that? I got to look that up now. But they got to him last week when he was with the Steelers. It was 2017. Was that long ago?
Colorado.
Man, I'm old. Okay. Wow. I didn't realize he'd been in the league that, but he's been kind of a journeyman. And last year, AJ Brown torched him against the Steelers. 4 catches for 74 yards and 2 touchdowns. If they get him matched up this week, they're going deep.
Yeah.
And they should.
Yeah. They'll hit at least one. And it's been interesting how, I mean, AJ's had big games the last 2 weeks, but Devontae still had 76 yards Sunday. I mean, he's just as likely to go off for a big game as AJ. It's fun having good receivers. I
feel like the Eagles fans deserve this.
I mean, I covered this team for 35 years, and for like 33 of them, they didn't have anybody as good as either one of them.
I'm sure McNabb's taking it well.
I'd love to. That's another what if Donovan had AJ Brown and Devontae.
Even if he just had T.O. for more than
21 games.
Yeah.
AJ Brown and T.O. played the same number of games as Eagles. They each played 21.
Oh, really? How do they stack up?
Close. T.O.'s got a lot more touchdowns.
Okay.
But but yards are, I think AJ's within a couple hundred. Over 21 games. So, yeah, but I think T.O. is 93 per game and AJ's up to 91 per game. So,
wow.
Yeah. So it's probably 2 times 21. So, yeah, he's within like 50 yards of.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And nobody else in Eagles
because
history.
that's like as great as the other careers we've seen from receivers in this town, like T.O. in that stretch was probably the best receiver play we've ever seen in this city.
Quick at 83
sure
is up there, but yeah, and even in 05 when before he blew up, he was starting to blow up, but I mean,
yeah,
he had like 745 yards in 7 games. I mean, he was gonna have like a 2,000 yard season, and it didn't go well after that. But even in his last game against the Broncos, he had like a 90-yard touchdown. They got killed. They lost by like 40, but yeah, T.O. was. I've never seen anyone like him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you see a little T.O. and AJ, don't you?
Yeah. Well, just how physical he is.
Physical after the catch. Yeah.
I mean, T.O. was longer, and T.O. he was just. I really believe, like even late in his career, like he went to where'd he go? Like the Bengals and the Bills.
His last year was with the Bengals. He could still play if he wasn't T.O. If he was just Terrell Edmond or Terrell Owens. Terrell Owens, Jesus. If he was just Terrell Owens, he had 983 yards
and
in
9
2010.
touchdowns.
Yeah,
for the Bengals, and 70 in his last year at 37, and playing in obscurity. I mean, they were really bad.
He's
that year.
49 years old right now.
Yeah.
If he played a full season, what would his stat line be?
I'll bet he could catch 50 passes. Well, who's his quarterback? If it's Jalen?
Yeah.
Is he the 3?
I mean,
he could have.
If he could survive being the third option.
Yeah, that might not go well.
Might not go well.
How's AJ getting all those passes? But yeah, I mean, he could have played another 5 years.
Yeah,
he could have put up Rice numbers.
Yeah, he could just. Jerry Rice's numbers are amazing. In 2002 with the Raiders, he had 1,200 yards.
Yeah, how old was he?
How do I find that out?
How do you find it out?
Is it
like 40?
He was 40 in 20.
It's on the left side of his. Yeah. Yeah, he had a 1,200 yards. And he had 869 yards with the Raiders in 03 at 41.
It's insane.
Yeah. But T.O. was, I mean, I've never, I don't know if I've ever seen anyone at any position who was that good. I mean, Reggie, I guess, but yeah, they're in a class of their own. Yeah. I mean, Doc, but safeties are different.
AJ is off to a good start, though. I know the receiver position has so many good players. So it's like it's tricky to start saying Hall of Fame trajectory, but I don't think it's out of the question.
Yeah, I agree. And I think he's played 65 games in his career.
Mhm.
Is that right? I think he's in the top 10, I think, for yards in a player's first 65 games.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's
has a chance to go over 5,000 this week. He's 95 away.
Yeah, and he'd be. I think I was looking at that. He'd be like the 11th or 12th fastest to 5,000.
Yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, and especially if he plays with Jalen for a few years.
Yeah,
he's really good.
He's fun to watch too. I tried to ask Jalen about that stutter stat, and he didn't really give me much.
Yeah,
that was the play call aside.
Yeah, sure,
unbelievable,
because
he had set him up a few plays earlier in that drive with a comeback route,
right?
And the rookie just he baited the rookie so bad. It was such a sweet stutter.
Yeah, it was. And that's the kind of the sad thing about that play. I mean, it was the wrong play, but it was an incredible play.
Beauty.
Yeah. So if they did the right thing, we never would have had it's a highlight play. And they were so fired up after it. Like,
poor rookie on the sideline looked like he was about to give up football.
Yeah. He had a tough
He was
day.
going through it.
AJ had nice things to say about him.
Hey, and I appreciate that, because those two were drawn. He obviously got the taunting penalty.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, he's a young player.
Yeah.
And he's going against AJ Brown with not any help.
They didn't help him at all.
Yeah, you're saying here you go, Emmanuel Forbes. Good luck.
Yeah.
He's just their second best corner too.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it could be a big day for the Eagles outside guys, no question.
You don't have to give me a prediction, but where are you leaning? This is a tricky game.
I think this is a tough game, and I'm leaning toward the Rams.
Are you?
I am. The Eagles are gonna lose a game. And the thing that worries me is, like, whenever a team is like, we're winning all these close games, we've learned how to win. It also means you're playing with fire.
Mm-hmm.
And I still believe in this team. I still think they're going to win 12, 13 games this year. They have a really tough schedule coming up, but I just worry about this secondary versus Matt Stafford and those receivers. And
I think that's legitimate.
Yeah. I think the Eagles score some points.
Probably going to need to.
This game could be played in the 30s. It could be a 33-30 type game.
I'm leaning Eagles. I think I'm going to pick the Eagles.
I also think
in this game, but I if you're taking a shot on the Rams, I don't hate that from like our strategic prediction.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, and you would know this better than me. When's the last time I picked the Eagles to lose? I don't think I picked them to lose last year. Because they started winning, and I was just like, I'm just going to pick them every week. I know I picked them to win the Super Bowl.
My shot last year did not go well. My shot, I took it on the Titans.
Yeah.
I thought maybe they're going to punch them in the mouth. The Titans play these ugly games, and then they just demolish them.
Yeah. I just don't know when yeah. And look, I think they're going to beat the Jets, and I think Miami here, I think they'll score a ton of points against Miami.
That's going to be a track meet.
That's going to be fun game. So are they going to be 7-0? I think they're going to win the next two. So I think this could be an L. It's been a while.
It has been a while. It's amazing.
But when's the last time they lost a road game?
It's been a long time. They don't lose regular season games with Jalen Hurts.
No. 20. What is he? 21-1 in his last 20, or 22-1 in his last 23. So I went to the Span Finder on StatHead to see how many quarterbacks have won, like 21 of 22 or 22 of 23, whatever it is. And you can't do it because quarterback wins is not a searchable function. And I emailed them, and that, Katie, you ever talk to Katie at StatHead? No,
I'm not on a first name basis with the people who run
I probably
StatHead.
exchange 10 emails a week with Katie because it, like the touchdown.
Hey, you're not a fan. I know you don't watch The Office, but they have like a special file for when Dwight complains about Jim, and they just put it in like a bin that doesn't go anywhere. Like, and they say they're sending it to corporate. I feel like that's what's happening with you and Katie.
Actually, she's very helpful, and I effected some changes with the site in the past, and she said she's going to recommend she said she's already recommended to the engineers that do the site, the programmers, to make wins a searchable function. And then, because you can search like a quarterback with the most touchdowns in 22 games or most yards, but not wins. And I tried 100 different ways to do it. And, but yeah, no, I think they like me over there.
He said wistfully.
Because I find a lot of bugs, and that's stuff they can fix. So
I'm sure every time
the other day
they get an email, they're thrilled.
The other day, the touchdown finder, like you can set it to receiver or like passing touchdowns to receivers or quarterbacks, and I had it set to receivers, and it was giving me the quarterbacks.
Oh, that's weird.
And I messaged Katie, and she's like, "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. We're working on that now." Anyway,
all right.
Imagine I did this job for a long time without a stat head, and I have no idea how. I would just look stuff up.
What if it closed down tomorrow?
I'd quit.
Would you?
I'd have to. I couldn't function. I could not function without it.
All right.
Seriously.
If you enjoy the Eagle Eye Podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your
nightmares
pods.
Now.
If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button and subscribe there as well. We appreciate all the feedback and support. We'll have a pod after the game, win or lose, on Sunday.
A little later Sunday.
A little later. Yeah, 4 or 5 Eastern.
But not overnight.
Not overnight. Yeah, it won't be a crazy late pod. We'll get that up for you guys. That's it. All right, for Rube, I'm Dave. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan. We'll talk to you soon.